to the podcast, everyone. I am your host, James. It's another episode of the Polarized Podcast, the movie about polarizing movies according to Rotten Tomatoes. And we are wrapping up our sequel extravaganza as summer has wrapped up as well. We are doing a monster bash. There's multiple monster bashes. They bash, they kick, they gnaw, they bite, they laser, they blazer, they flame, they heal, they power up, they power down. These monsters do it all. The critics did not care for it, though. They said, nay, 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 we give a 42, stinky, stinky, doo-doo 42 to this movie. Even though they liked the first one, they say no to the second. They come back around later in the franchise. But checking in with the audience here, we got a pretty spicy 83%. Because I just know you guys love those numbies, so we got to get that out of the way so we can have all the fun. Just like they just power through the beginning of this movie with a lot of stuff, and so then you just have all the fun with the battles. Before I get into the movie, though, it is not me monologuing, as I am prone to do sometimes. When you get me going about anything related to dinosaurs. And there's some dinosaur-looking things in this movie. That's what I call them, dinosaur-looking things. I haven't figured it out. They're titans. It's the world of titans now. Thanks to Monarch. It's a whole world. They built it out. I'm so excited to discuss it, because what else would I do after a movie like this? Just sit and have to ponder like I did last time, the first time I watched it, because I don't remember talking to anyone about this movie, but I'm not sure many people saw it. And I don't know if it was as successful as the first one. I was about to bring someone in. Let's bring him in. If there was a Godzilla to my Kong, or vice versa, I don't know which one is which, he would be it. It's the great Brandini versus the forever guest.
Yes. Let's go. Kaiju. Oh, I am excited to talk about a kaiju movie, man, because it's just so fun. We, both of us have been playing Armored Core, and the way that I would describe
Fires of Rubicon.
Fires of Rubicon is like, and then like a, and then like,
yeah. Totally.
A lot of that stuff.
Some of the
like, it's just so tight to watch.
Shield activated. Ammo 50%. AP 30%. I was going to love this movie. I was thinking about it just regardless to a degree, because of the history that I have with this type of movie. Sure.
So I don't know about you, but weirdly, my dad had at the house VHS copies of dubbed versions of old school Godzilla.
Cool.
It was something that I had grown up with, is Godzilla, and it's just why I say it's funny that my dad owned it is because he got such an enormous kick out of how bad the dubbing is, because this like the old school Godzillas is such a like stereotypical example of like people's mouths would move, and then what they would say would like start after their mouth stopped moving, or obviously like their lips and what they're saying don't match whatsoever.
Like a lot of like kung fu movies and stuff too at the time.
Absolutely. Probably. But I was absolutely enthralled with it because it is very cool that there's this giant monster having battles with other monsters. Like, it's hard for that concept not to be kind of fucking cool. Like we could maybe point out some movies that are like do it poorly.
Oh, well, I mean, now that you bring that up, that brings me into my history, which is embarrassing, but I didn't have a cool, well, my dad was cool in many other ways, but he was not a old school Godzilla guy. But he did take me to go see the great 1998 Matthew Broderick helmed film, Godzilla, in theaters at the age of 8 when I saw it, and I thought it was the coolest fucking thing ever. Like, I know people don't like that movie, and I realize now it's not a great representation maybe of the great esteemed Godzilla character, and there's many other movies that people would point to. But that was my introduction, and I'm sure it introduced a lot of young American boys to Godzilla at that time in 1998. And I had a fucking great time. And I remember walking out of that theater like, fuck, the egg hatched. There's another Godzilla there, and they're going to make a sequel. And I kept on waiting for that sequel. And I just like realized later in my life that, you know, those movies that you thought were so great, and you're like, oh, that's why there wasn't a sequel.
It's really
it's not
great,
as good as I hoped it was.
It's a great example of a movie that it was enthralling as a young person because of the very simple bare bones concept of it. But then as an adult, you revisit and you go like, what is this saying? Like, you know, kind of meat and potatoes of a human existence and condition and emotion.
Oh, and
like, what does that have to do?
And the marketing and the toys and all of that stuff just worked so well. I remember the Taco Bell commercial was like, I don't know, it was like playing around. It was always so fun. That was when the Chihuahua was sitting there with the trap. I think he says, we're going to need a bigger box. Yokiro Taco Bell.
Wow.
Sort of, he does the Jaws thing. We're going to need a bigger box. He's got a little box with a taco there, and he thinks Godzilla's going to go for it. Because in that movie, that's one of the plot points is they just lure him with a big pile of fish.
What a dumb movie. What a stupid movie. So again, looking back on it, because you know what's so funny too is I just think about how like weird and gross it is too, that is very like alien-esque. And it just there was a lot of concepts in that Matthew Broderick version of Godzilla that could be cool, but again, after you realize that all the characters suck and Godzilla doesn't really fight anybody, all it is the whole movie is the lead up to Godzilla existing, and then there's a little bit of destruction, but it's relative, well, especially for this movie, relatively minimal.
And like, they make him look like
movie,
like a dinosaur. Essentially, it's really a dinosaur. It's like doesn't look like the classic kind of
Godzilla,
like the structure, like the posture, and it's more hunched over like a velociraptor, kind of like Jurassic Parky in the 1998 one, and just so much overblown CGI and everything, and like helicopter chases through the buildings and shit like that, and just like this humor that from my memory just didn't play super well. And then they put it to rest for such a long time, and then cut to, and I went for it, and I revisited the first one in this franchise of movies, the Godzilla of 2014, I believe it is when that one came out, with Aaron Taylor Johnson, the Gareth Evans, is that his name, Gareth Evans?
Yeah.
It's funny, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen are husband and wife in that movie, and then they play brother and sister in a different movie. It's kind of funny. Okay. I forgot about that. But just comparing even that one to the first Godzilla in this franchise, and even this one to that one, you know, that one is the 2014 Godzilla. I keep on doing this and that, but the 2014 Godzilla is so serious and like no laughs really in that movie, like at all.
People die, and it's a big deal.
And there's so much buildup to even revealing Godzilla in full form and having, you know, more of a singular battle near the end. There's some other stuff where there's some destruction, but they're kind of shying away from it, and they're showing the more boots on the ground approach of the terror and of the lead up and fallout of a monster existing. And the characters are very, you know, are much deeper, even though, you know, Bryan Cranston is still, it catches you off guard how unceremoniously kind of is taken away 45 minutes into the movie, and how similar he kind of is to Kyle Chandler in this movie. Was kind of like seeing it next to each other. Maybe, I mean, as the relationship between him and Vera played out, that, you know, couldn't be done maybe with his character, but it was just something that was like, oh, well, yeah, he was studying these whatchamacallit, the sonar stuff. And that was a big thing that Bryan Cranston was saying when leading up to the Godzilla attacks, was just like, oh, there's these, you know, beasts communicating each other with sonar, and that's what's going on with the nuclear power plant and everything. But very serious movie, very like dour, and but also great and interesting in a different way that doesn't hit the same notes that a lot of these movies do. And even generic as they may be, this one does those things very well. All the globe trotting, all the quips, all the more like Michael Bay, like one-liner sort of stuff. That's all in this movie. And in the first one, yeah, it's just more of like a self-serious, restrained, very like gray and black, hard to see at times, but also looks fucking amazing. Like it's shot really well. And I think that like him as a director has a really great
Michael Dougherty.
Well, Gareth Evans. I was just kind of running through the first one for. I just that whole scene of, and it's in that trailer as well. It's just a great trailer for this movie too. But in the first one, where it just shows the guys parachuting down with the red smoke on their feet and everything, and the soundtrack and score leading up to that is very choral. And they bring that over into this one with like kind of a choir kind of doing those like primal chants. Love it. Love all that stuff. But yeah, just wanted to give a little like background as to my like revisiting that one. Did you catch that one in theaters? I remember there's a lot of hype for that. And for some people, I remember there was a little bit of a letdown for like, oh, not enough battles, not enough Godzilla. Sure. And my Godzilla movie was more about forget those monsters. Though, like it's a pair, it's a male and female in that one.
I agree with you a lot about the tone and the objective of the first one, but I think it's just such an interesting like result and culmination of how movie franchises have developed over the years. And there's a lot of like some of the better parts of them being represented in this franchise, where they set the first one up with the intention really seeming on there being a second one, really having the forethought, which like the
Monsterverse,
for better or for worse, like so many of these major studios have been trying to create these, cinematic universes, and the most successful versions of it are always the one that don't course correct to include that. They just set out from the get-go to have that. Mm-hmm. And I think that this movie benefits from them understanding that this is how it's going to go. Like really kind of seeing the success of, well, it's almost not success, but like proof of concept is like, let us introduce this new type of Godzilla, let us introduce this new type of King Kong, and seeing them be successful and understanding that there is an end to, and having that in the background, but testing them out. It's almost like, to me, the idea of like with Dune is that they technically didn't have the second one green lit, but they were going to do it like they had the story planned out, obviously. And then based on the success of it then easily greenlit the second, and then they went into production. And I think that ends up creating such a better product when you are like, here is the story I would like to tell over multiple movies, even though that is very like, ballsy or to do that, I'm sure, in Hollywood, to pitch like, not only am I pitching a movie, but I'm pitching a whole entire franchise, which I'm sure it probably gets picked up pretty easily given the state of things. But nonetheless, like, it is also too interesting how much of a product the first one is, and King Kong as well, of like boots on the ground is what's interesting to people. And then there needs to be also the really big, like the Pacific Rim of it all. Or like, to me, this is almost looking at Zack Snyder or Christopher Nolan is how we're going to do the characters. And then we're going to look at like a Michael Bay or a Guillermo del Toro for the big guys, and then just creating like a really interesting like homage and hybrid between the two and having it be relatively successful. Another thing too is this reminds me so much of Matt Reeves as well, like him coming into doing the Planet of the Apes franchise.
And he's the Batman guy, right?
And he's the Batman guy.
Planet of the Apes is a good example too, for sure.
Yeah, like
those should not work as well as they do.
Right, exactly. But I think there is a really great understanding of the balance. Like, God, there's just so many things. I'm sorry, like flying through my mind too, because
Oh
like
no,
this,
yeah,
this also too is like a really kind of great analog to James Cameron coming into, or like how he would make a second version is that you have your like what Ridley Scott did the first Alien, and then him having this very character driven smaller picture that that introduces a big idea, but then the second one coming in and going like, okay, perfect, so you set up that that this is how the world operates. Now we're going to just give people this really like a massive scale of a movie. Like it's so crazy to just see these battles unfold because they're like taken over a whole like island or like a side of a continent, it feels like, and they're just like and they well establish like what the monster does and sets the and then they're off and we're off to the races. It's really quite something where I was consistently being like, wow, whoa, look at this, like fuck, we're just whoa,
I'm getting what I wanted.
Yeah, like man,
these monsters are going at it. And the thing I think this franchise has unassumedly, like, or maybe in my own mind, I've seen all the movies, but I didn't just think about it until doing this podcast as much as like, wow, as a whole, they're doing a good job with this franchise. Like, damn, like, and because I watched that first one and leading up to this one,
is what we want, like, right?
I love how open, and I see why comic books work well for this too, but I love how open-ended it can be, but you can tell singular stories within the universe or whatever. And these are, I mean, how Godzilla is, you don't, him as a character, you know, he's just he's a force of nature. He's not as much a character. So him moving and changing,
it's not like he says anything.
Yeah, but I love how
we understand his point of view, but we kind of do
some knowing
weirdly
looks, but
we kind of have his point of view that he's trying to create balance. If I understand things correctly, like that's the force he is.
No, I think it's great how they could have ended the first one and it still would have been great. They could have ended it. They could end it this one and it'd still be fine.
Or Alien.
These are all and then like, in Kong Skull Island, you can end it there. You're fine as well. Like you can take each of these, and if you just watch even any of them on their own, you would get it. You could watch Godzilla versus Kong and be like, this is fun. I get it. I didn't need to watch the other ones. And I think that's very special within this franchise. And I think what you gave are good examples, but also within those examples, a lot of them some of them at least hinge upon the first one to see and understand and everything. These are so fun. Regardless. And to be able to take like a new cast of characters each time and approach this. And Kong Skull Island is awesome, a period piece and a whole set of new characters and campy as shit and done in a way that's not contrived in a very manufactured contrivance sort of way. But this one has some great camp too. There's some stuff
sometimes it gets a little much
and the humor doesn't land really super well. And they didn't have that in the first one. They have in this one. It doesn't really work super well, but you kind of want some of that to know that you're like, we can have fun here. Like,
oh my God, the door is open.
Yeah. Like the guy
on in.
I need to know that actor's name, but the guy from Billy Madison, the villain in Billy Madison, says a lot of quippy stuff with the glasses and the gray hair and him and it was a Jen and I don't know with his they have kind of a back and forth.
You're talking about Bradley Whitford.
Whitford. His stuff works okay on me because he's a son of a bitch and
outrageous in this movie. He's on another level. Not taking anything seriously.
Yeah, it gets a little much sometimes for sure.
Like if anything, there's no stopping him because like you said, he's the villain in Billy Madison, but he's also a main character on West Wing, which is just a absolutely revered show like that, especially for people who write movies now. Like if you were to take a writer for a current IP, whatever, if you were to ask them, how do you feel about West Wing? They would probably love it. They would
Sorkin?
Like,
I love
this is
Sorkin.
what inspired me to get into making this movie that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have Bradley Whitford in there is like a homage and understanding of like what he's bringing to the table and understanding the importance of somebody who is going to deliver those snarky, like lines so incredibly well.
Yeah, and I think it's almost a similar performance in like Cabin in the Woods when he's been in like the control panel, just like making quips with Richard Jenkins and
Richard Jenkins is another great.
Yeah, and that's some of that's, and it's like it doesn't land every time, but it's fun to know that you can have fun. Talk about who?
Charles Dance. I want to get on the dance.
I mean that brings us into the opening scene with Mothra and all of that stuff, and him storming in. Bad dude immediately because he kills a guy.
Yeah, actually, you know what? This is, since it's been just a little bit before, since I've seen this before recording this. Can you open us up with plot of where we're at? Get us into the Charles Dance of it all.
Well, yeah, sure. Because it starts with a like almost a Batman versus Superman opening of Ben Affleck. Like, I was there on the ground when you were fucking taking down those buildings, and it's the same with Kyle Chandler and Vera and little Millie Bobby Brown.
Awesome.
I
like Chandler.
Great
Kyle
casting.
Chandler too.
Yeah,
I love those. I love so many of the actors in this movie, man. Like,
yeah, dude. What does it say? Bear kisses or bear hugs or whatever. Give her bear kisses. That whole like little scene of them. Like, oh, this is fun chemistry. They got it.
Absolutely.
So it shows like they were there on the ground. They saw Godzilla. Godzilla is instrumental in the death of their son, which tore apart their family, led him to drink and then to get a divorce. Millie Bobby Brown is now with Vera in China at one of the Monarch facilities, studying and gestating a pupa, if you a larva.
Yeah, absolutely.
of a Mothra. And they do that thing where it's the Blofeld thing a little bit in Skyfall or whatever, where it's or Spectre, where it's like
James.
I know, I'm riffing here.
Out of everything. I don't
fucking I was gonna get it. I was gonna correct myself. If you gave me 2 seconds. It started with an S. God.
No, it's okay.
He's the fucking Brandini's already got sharpening the pitchfork. I saw him.
It's the one thing for people that don't know who are listening to this podcast is that James Bond is our shit so hardcore, and so that's the only reason.
I am the author of your pain.
You were like a kite dancing.
Where
Thunderstorm?
Yeah. So anyways, this is like, I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld. And you're supposed to be like, oh, fuck, that means something. And they do the same thing where it's like, it's Mothra. And like, whoa. And it's like, I mean, I know that everybody, it's like, they might as well just look right down the lens of the camera and be like, hey, it's fucking Mothra. And then that happens like 5 more times in the movie where, that I do like that I know all the names by the end of the movie.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's done better than others.
Like, I don't know, Specimen 1 or some bullshit like that. And I'm like, just call it Ghidra.
I like the little bit of like discovery rather than like, it's fucking cool name, right? Give it right to you. Especially for a newer fan. I mean, I know Mothra, but it eventually becomes the girl from Rush Hour 2, Zhang Zi or Zhang. She it's pretty much her job to tell everybody's names, and sometimes it's better than others where it's like, oh, it's the people here in this village call it the Great Radam. I like that. I like that
a lot too,
because then it's like it's like part of folklore and within the different parts of the world.
I love that
it's all
world
like
building too,
based on real gods of lore of when humanity was ancient, and the fact that it is like whatever, not Specimen Zero, whatever, like fucking Titan Zero. Yeah. Titan A. Yeah. And then when you finally, King Ghidorah, he's a false king, like all that stuff is rad. And then it's like so Ken Watanabe's job to in the first and second one just to kind of stare off and be like, whoa.
And because of Ken Watanabe, we get it both ways. We get Godzilla and Godzilla.
Yes, I do. It means so much to me when I hear him.
I'm like, oh, what a way to have your cake and eat it too, and it go down so smooth.
I know this was later in the movie, but did you notice what happened to his assistant? Because she just disappeared at some point.
No, I don't.
She was there at like the trial thing, and then they take off, and then she was there for a bit after, and then like at the end, he's like giving the stuff to Zhang, and I'm like, what about his assistant?
Oh, okay.
She was like worked under him the whole first movie and the big first half of it. I was like, I didn't remember like a death scene when like I figured she should be there. Of like, okay, bye. We had so much memories. I just watched the first one, so that's probably why. But she was in a little bit of this one too.
That even just the lowest level employee, you're coming up to them and going,
"Hey,
who are you?"
She was instrumental in the in the first one and everything that came after, and then she just disappeared. I don't know. It's
oh my god,
these characters like Bryan Cranston. You know, we also get introduced to Millie Bobby Brown with Wave of Mutilation. That was shows how cool she is.
I know, God, yeah, she's so cool, right?
And it's kind of a Wave of Mutilation is kind of emblematic of the movie.
I know,
because of all the radiation.
And all the destruction.
Yeah. And then I said, what did I say? DJ soundboard. Oh, that's when she pulled out the orca and she was like, and then got Mothra back down to Earth. And then you start seeing the crash zooms, a little bit of the crash zooms start to come out of like
this movie. Oh God, this movie also benefits so much that so many of the scenes are at night.
A lot.
So
yes,
a lot of it is at night, and
like snow.
You can just the monster
Water.
Can come out of like a blackness or some type of like background and just appear like you are on a ride at Universal Studios or something. It just is so much of your like as the audience member experiencing the monsters is here is this character you watch walk out to the monster, and then you get a zoomed out perspective of how small that person is with the monster, and it just creates scale so incredibly well. Definitely. That you can just understand that these monsters are enormous.
Yeah, I love that part of just it only doesn't work when they do a little bit too many stare downs in this movie where they look at each other, and it's just like trying to imagine like me looking at an ant. It could,
right? And
I've seen an ant, but I'm just wondering, like, be like, oh yeah, we're having a moment, me and this ant.
Right, because I mean, to your point is like you're not looking at an ant as like whatever you're doing is also tied into my success as well.
Yeah, I'm just a fucking yeah. I just working on instinct, baby.
Yeah, like I'm
the king.
I'm a king. So one of my first notes is I have a crush on Sally Hawkins. So let's talk about her performance a little bit. How do you feel about Sally Hawkins?
What character is
I think she's just so
that's
wonderful.
The assistant. That's what I'm talking about.
That is the assistant.
What do you oh my god, you're talking about the low-level employee and you don't even know who I'm talking about. Ken Watanabe's assistant, Dr. Vivian Graham is her character. That's what I'm saying. What happened to her?
No, she got smushed by Ghidorah.
Did she? How did I miss that?
Yeah.
Damn.
Because I was bummed out about it. One of my notes was, no, Sally Hawkins, she got smushed by Ghidorah.
I must have been writing a note or some shit. At what scene? What scene was that? Like,
I'm sorry, I just couldn't consider her an assistant to anything, right? Because every time she's on screen, I'm like, you are just captivating me. Because I don't know, she was in Shape of Water, and then
Right.
she's also
Yes.
in Blue. What is it? Blue Jasmine. What's the
Is that the
He Who
Woody
Shall
Allen one?
Not Be Named? Yeah. Yeah, his movie. And she's so great in that too. And she just has I love the way that she looks. I love the way that she acts, because she just has such a conviction, such an earnestness to her. She like is there, ready to play, getting into the weeds of like, because it must always be so weird as an actor doing a movie like this, where your direction is that there's this crazy mystical beast that's doing X, Y, and Z, and you have to react to it. And the way that she handles it is just always wonderful, because she just brings a sense of like grounded like care, and it's just the best.
Damn, I need to revisit and see it. I must have just blacked out for a second. It's crazy.
It's okay.
Rip.
Sally Hawkins, man, I love her. And then Charles Dance. So I brought that up. That's how we started.
This movie like goes fast in like the first like 20 to 30 minutes. It's like pumping through, like from the point where it's like establishing this new family, and then they're separated. They're in summer, like the Vera and Millie are in China, and he's studying wolves, and then it just moves into the Mothra stuff so quickly. They get kidnapped, and it's already just like Kyle Chandler's like on the move to get them back, and they're already like giving Kyle Chandler a lot of information about like what's about to go down with all these Titans, and there's 17 of them, is they tell him at one time. And Ken Watanabe is like, yeah, we believe some of them are benevolent. Charles Dance is a British Army general turned eco-terrorist, restoring the natural order, and he used to traffic Titan DNA. I was like, this is where I missed some of death. I was like, I want to get some of these details, because what is going on? Like, who is this guy anyways?
Can I just say though, with Charles Dance, like, God, do I love the choice of him being a villain, because he's so scary. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be real. Like, I don't, because that's what this podcast. It's about getting real. About movies. Get real. Homies. That's everybody come in if you want to get real.
Get the hell out if you don't.
And if you don't want to get real, get the hell out of here. I feel like he was noticeably underused.
Yeah, and so you get the feeling he's going to come back, and he doesn't.
Disappears for like long stretches of this movie, and you're like, what's Charles Dance up to?
Yeah,
like I want to understand like this whole plan that he has to like combat. So this is also let's
because he doesn't come back in Godzilla.
This is where the movie where it falls apart a little bit. Is there is this proposition that's happening, is that boots on the ground people are people on the streets are welcoming these kaiju, because they are going to level and create a balance. And Charles Dance is like this terrorist in the sense of like humanity has failed itself, and in order for us to see a revitalization, a resurrection, we need a major course correction from the destruction of course correction. Like he's welcoming the monsters, because government people are not going to wake up and listen and solve the problems that they need to. So what's going to
overpopulation, war, famine, and other things of that matter. Do you need more slides? I will show you in my PowerPoint.
The PowerPoint.
No, we're not there.
No. Well, okay, you're right.
We could jump around.
No, it's fine. No, let's stick to it, because I want to walk through this. So yeah, I think Charles Dance is like noticeably underused in this, because he starts the movie off with a like terrorist plot that is affecting the main characters of this movie, and then it just takes the biggest and most noticeable like backseat, and then it just goes into like whatever the monsters are doing, whatever Millie Bobby Brown is doing, the movement of like Kyle Chandler and the whole team, like, and then you just completely forget about Charles Dance and whatever the fuck he's doing for such a long
And whenever he does show up, he has this air of like, I know something you don't know, and even if this doesn't work out exactly how how like plan A is going, I have like plan B and C or D that could totally work out fine. And that's kind of where we leave him as a character, is like, we have what we need, so whatever, I'll just move on and maybe I'll come back another time. But he's constantly like looming, but not really taking much action, and that leaves a lot on Vera's shoulders to do the back and forth of being bad and then good, and to deliver that monologue that we were, I did just reference, rather than Charles Dance to be more of like any of the brains, he really seems to be the muscle. But to have him in charge, the dude just oozes, wisdom and brains, and that he does have a plan, rather than just being, a glorified bodyguard to what Vera's ideas are. And she doesn't seem as menacing at the same time, so it is kind of like a hard balance.
Do you find Millie Bobby Brown a good actress? Because there's a lot of this that I was really compelled by what she was doing. There's moments where she's like crying and like getting involved in stuff that I thought was really good.
Yeah, she's good,
right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, to hold up against other people in scenes, and yeah, I don't know, like, because there's an emotional core to this movie that is about a mother, father, daughter relationship that creates this emotional core about what is happening to people that are choosing sides on this like quote unquote war against like whether or not you're like on Charles Dance's side or on Kyle Chandler's side. And honestly, I think she handles it really well. I think she does a good job, and I'm, kind of about Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of scenes where it is really just what she's doing with her face, and the disappointment and love and frustration and despair of like a lot of people, watching a lot of people die and knowing your mother is instrumental in that, and that gradual realization of that, and then the disapproval after is like a good burn. And then like there's a lot of scenes where she's reacting to nothing, I'm sure, just like a green screen ball or some guy in a suit or something like that. And I think that has to be very difficult to have some sort of emotional connection or reaction to something that is just twice the size of a skyscraper. And yeah, that one point where she just screams back at King Ghidorah is pretty great. I thought that was a cool moment. She's like,
sure.
But then it's also like, yeah, the 3-headed dragon is like all focus on this one one person. It was just like, yeah, me at an ant, just like, and just the ant just like,
God, I love
but no, I think she's great. I enjoyed the she's definitely grown so much as an actress, and Stranger Things 4 was really great, and excited to see them finish that and whatever else she does with her career.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sure sky's the limit. And it was funny when they were trying to find when they were making this movie and they were doing conceptual stuff and like CGI representations of what they wanted to do. The director instructed the artist to use Millie Bobby Brown as like the example, even though she hadn't been cast or anything, or they hadn't gone to that process. So there's like this footage of, her as like a CGI rendered character really terribly, but just trying to get the point across of what the movie will be. And then they eventually, approached her about it. And it was cool watching some of the behind the scenes stuff. Everyone said that, she's very well spoken and wise beyond her years. That's what O'Shea Jackson said. It was just like
O'Shea Jackson. That's a good pull. Yeah.
Yeah, he was saying she's just very well spoken, and he kind of blew his mind that I think she was only like 13 when she made this movie. She's talking a lot about pranks on set.
Oh my god!
Her and the director and Vera, I think, quote, called her a little rascal.
Whoa!
And like goofy and a goofball because she just and I guess they were just having fun on set and she'd prank people and she'd get pranked back and stuff. So that's good. I don't know. It's good. She's having fun at that age and having to,
it is good.
Do a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And to still be a kid, that's good. That's a lot to do to be on a set every day and all the Stranger Things stuff and all that pressure to do that at that age. Yeah.
I mean, all of that is a testament that I think that she's going to be around in a force to be reckoned with for a long time.
I think so.
And even though how you feel about this movie, because we had mentioned off mic, but I haven't looked at the numbers. This movie is obviously, because we're talking about it, is not heralded well by critics. But box office wise, I'm not quite sure where it stands up to the first one. But nonetheless, her as a incredibly young actress, not being hurt by this performance, even though whatever people might say about this movie, she's not the problem. If you have one with this, right? Like she just stands out as being somebody that is competent and is bringing exactly what she needs.
The heart of the movie. Yeah,
absolutely.
And like they were the kind of the conscience almost, and the dividing line between the mother and the father, which that's some of the rougher stuff. Is Vera's character? I think is a hard one to grasp the full breadth of who she is as a character and how it's portrayed a little bit. It's a I like the road that they tried to go down with her, but it just wasn't super successful. And again, how it was portrayed.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense because she is on board with Charles Dance to a degree, but then it
was her idea.
Right. It's her idea. I'm sorry. Because she is wanting a better future for Millie Bobby Brown, for MBB. But then what happens in the movie where she turns away from Charles Dance because he isn't in alignment with what she wants is so like
the King Ghidorah thing.
Of course.
Ghidorah.
Ghidorah. Yeah, that sounds
getting jiggy with it, Dora. That stuff is the attempt to like bring her back at the end isn't worth it for me. I would have preferred her just to go like,
oh my god,
I'm bad, deal with it, baby.
If she was just as bad as Charles Dance or worse, that would be so much fun.
Then like a Charlize Theron and Fast 10, just kind of like that little bit more just like, no, I'm just fucking bad, baby.
That. Like, and I think it would almost be better for the franchise because like I agree with you. A problem that I have with this movie is how dumb her plan is, because one side of this movie and the Charles Dance side, just like how I preface how I think his stuff is really weak, and that applies too with Via Farmiga's stuff, is it's so like they want this thing and then it quickly changes once what you expect happens. So you're just like, see, are you guys all fucking idiots? Which is a bummer because I love Charles Dance a fuckload and I love Via Farmiga, or however you say her name, a lot too.
Yeah, definitely.
They're both incredible actors, but what their purpose and character is so like
flimsy,
not fully fleshed out. It's like it's on stilts. It's very
I think it's the King Ghidorah of it all, because like they should know that it's like a false king. It's an alien that's not from here. if they know so much, they would know
if I had a fucking quarter for every time you're like, it's not a false king, I would be a rich man.
There's only one true king. That's Gojira.
You're always talking every time we get into these conversations about life and what's good and whatnot. Always like, it's a false king. And I'm like, God damn it.
You know what, Brandon? Have you ever thought of it like,
have you ever thought about this being just a false king situation? And I'm always like, no, James, I didn't. God damn it, you're right.
But these people know so much about like these monsters, these titans, and she's the one that blows up the ice wall to release King Ghidorah. Like, she is the big part of that happening, and I feel like just that being a surprise and what happens with that monster in particular is discussed later on rather than like, I don't know, it just seems like they know so much about all the other monsters leading up to it. But it's not the full JJ Abrams of like them constantly moving, but there is an element of pace to this that just goes, and for the most part I like it. It sets up that first act really, really well, and you have Mothra there, you know that you're gonna have possibly a host of monsters, and you don't really know or expect exactly how many, and they fucking throw monster after titan at you, and I fucking dig that.
Love it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite one besides Godzilla? You can be Godzilla.
No. Well, Godzilla is you know, he's the king.
No, yeah,
the king in my
right. Come on. Come on.
I mean, I know. It's kind of a basic take, but I do also love Mothra because the way that the movie presents Mothra so often is this just enormous bioluminescent fan that comes out,
so
and
cool.
We just are so like, wow, this is so cool that this monster exists. And
she has some of the best moments in the movie for sure. To have a healer, you got a healer in the crew now. Everybody needs a healer as a tank, especially.
I think it's just such a fun, like, especially for like teenagers, I think would really connect with this, is that Mothra and Godzilla are on the same team.
So cool.
And there's like different teams and stuff.
Love that. Like the allegiances and shit. And there's like, there's these age-old rivalries between all of them. Like, oh, that's so cool.
It's so sick. The way that this movie builds up its kaijus, lets you know this is what this historical like mythology is about this, or this is something that is like, just explain what the powers and where the origin is, and then lets it loose is really fantastic, because that's what you want. Like, you want to just go like, okay, so this monster can do this, that monster can do that, and now they're going to fight. And it just really kind of sets it up like, bingo, bango, bongo.
Yeah.
And where you're like, cool, okay, I understand what they're going to do. And then they fight against each other. And it's in the locales too, as you get some, I mean, obviously this movie wants its cake again. I'm sorry, I feel like broken record of like wants its cake and eat it too, where it is setting up the significance of these monsters fighting in cities that causes destruction, that really like breaks families apart, or is like hurting people and all of that stuff. So but
then it grows trees after.
Sure. Okay, anyways.
I'm on Vera's side.
It's perfect. But yeah, I just
release the Kraken.
But nonetheless, like, I just think about, there was this video game growing up where it was very similar to this kaiju thing.
Rampage
is one of them. That's another great example. But no, I can't remember what it was called, but you get to select these really large monsters and fight in cities with, against each other.
Was it an arcade game, or was it actually for a console?
It was for a console.
Oh, that sounds cool.
I'll have to look it up later, but
that sounds kind of familiar.
Oh, okay. But your response is what I'm getting at, I guess, is like, it is cool, James.
Yeah.
It is awesome when big monsters fight each other in like cities and stuff. And you're like, this is crazy.
Can't fuck that up, right?
Yeah, you can't fuck that up. And that's, I think, what we're getting at, or at least what I would like to get at with this movie is that I do think there are parts of the boots on the ground shit that is boring or is
clunky.
too try hard. That's the other thing too, because we haven't talked
middle
about
ditch is the other one.
Middle ditch. I was gonna say
can't hang.
The middle ditch.
The middle ditch of it all. Very mid
of it all, where I'm like,
ditch.
mid bowl ditch.
Yeah. Can't hang, man. None of it worked. Like none of his character worked for me at all.
I understand though the
skeevy like
for his character.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing is like makes it almost more glaring is that I understand the need for somebody to explain things going on to a military man-esque Kyle Chandler character or whatever.
Yeah.
But he is just so snarky and non-serious. Yeah. And I've seen Godzilla versus King Kong, and there's a lot of that in the movie too. And that's where this movie has, in my mind, its problems is it's like,
agreed.
You don't need as many jokes as you're giving us. I love that you have jokes in here. Good. It would be, like you said with the first one, so fucking dour if we were just talking about like, here's another mass casualty situation with a kaiju fucking stomping through a city, and here's thousands of people died, and we're just like, fuck, have to deal with that. Like, I do want some levity to it. That's why I think actually like O'Shea Jackson, like the way he handles, like I thought the way that he handles the like military aspect of it had some levity to it that was kind of fun.
Yeah,
where he's like, this is serious because we need to accomplish this mission, but we're kind of like,
occasionally
isn't this crazy that it's a fucking big monster or whatever? And it has that really strikes a really great balance between having fun and not being too comedic. Because that's the thing is like, I'm not asking for the movie to be more serious. That's not the problem. It's like, if anything, be a little less funny, or like not
play it straight a bit more, not so much like,
like, if anything, it would just be like, that whole bit about like, it not funny. Like, there's some stuff in here where I'm like, it's just not funny.
There was a moment, what was the moment between Watanabe and Zhang where it was like a beautiful moment right before he goes, where he goes away. I think it was between them two. And then he says something like really heartfelt. And she's like, wow, that's beautiful. And then it could have just end scene right there. That's beautiful. Beautiful moment. And he's like, yeah, I read it in a fortune cookie once. It was a really long fortune cookie. It's like, oh, come on. It's like,
not funny.
Taking a dump at the end zone. Just like pinching a loaf right when you're about to score a touchdown. You know how that goes. I mean, we get into some of the battles. I mean, I think one of the coolest, the sound design in all of these movies is so fucking cool, and it adds such an effect that is, even me calling it out, I'm sure there's other even subliminal stuff that just makes you feel a certain way just experiencing it. And seeing it in theaters was really, really cool when I did. It was a solo movie experience. It was fun. It was another situation where I had to bring my car in and just went to the movies and caught one on my own. And the sounds of him mixed with the light of his spikes, the blue light underwater is a great, Jurassic Park, almost like slow down and have the pulse of the water or something, and know that something looming is coming, and you're about, kind of eye of the storm, about to get into some shit. And that's what Ghidorah popping out of the ice, of course, that's a great set piece as well. And I think the design of the dragon, the director mentioned, it's very meant to be more of an Eastern, obviously, version of how a dragon's depicted, rather than like a Western, kind of maybe a medieval one or something. It's very
similar to the dragon in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. They're these three-headed
like some whiskers.
that are very, very similar. I also
Like a
love
Hydra.
that when Ghidra travels, it's a thunderstorm wherever it goes.
So
I think
fucking
that's
cool.
so cool. Because they talk, obviously we've kind of commented on how silly at very much at times the way information about things is presented, because it's on like these screens and these like weird like underground bases, or like a moving
Monarch
air-
Outpost .173.
Yeah,
What do you mean? Underground oil bunker?
which, but as a like a and I think this almost appeals to me like as a gamer, and I just experienced this too in Starfield, where you go from the surface to this underground mine, and there are so many moments that it just in this movie again appeals to like maybe like a male sensibility or like a gamer sensibility, where like all the bases are really cool.
Yeah.
They're huge in these caverns, and there's a lot of people.
The big wall of the ice with you can see the three-headed dragon. Yeah, it's just this really shows off the scale too, like you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. The scale in this movie is really well done. You always feel like the majesty of a huge creature is put on display often, because there are time and time again shots of this massive monster in relation to the person on the ground that is experiencing their like awakening or whatever. And
it'll do that crash scene where it'll be out and then it'll go quick in, and that's just like I feel like a quick establishment of scale to a close-up. Right. It's an interesting effect. A more recent one, even stuff like Succession and stuff. But the middle ditch not great. But the lit up Godzilla and then the Ghidorah fight is fucking dope.
The Rodan fight is sick too.
Rodan is like the Moltres to Ghidorah's Zapdos. But I don't know if there's a snow one. I don't know if they have the snow. They have the.
Good Lord, was that a great way to say that?
When it was like fine, I was like, oh, it's Moltres. Cool.
Yeah. It's Zapdos.
God, the devastation upon that village is fucked up, but it just looks so
much about
like the abilities of it is put on display in such a cool way. Even though like I'm not a big like disaster porn movie guy, and seeing all the death and destruction and all that stuff, typically gets me just like not really in the best mood, or just like bored or whatever. And that just quick flyover was just like, fuck. It was like Pompeii level, just devastation on the ground of just the wing. Like,
Rodan comes out of a volcano too, right? It's so cool. Sick.
Huge, it's just like takes over that mountain.
Molten firebird. Oh. And then there's they're like, and then Rodan comes in. It's like,
totally. And then you're like, oh, you think he's gonna fight Godzilla? It's like, no, but like Rodan like fights Ghidorah, and then they all fight each other. And it's a thunderstorm and a flamestorm. Oh, come on.
This movie's tight.
Godzilla's kind of the water kaiju, I guess. Yeah, man. It's elemental.
He's like the lightning kaiju too.
He can do it all. He's the Avatar.
Long live the king!
Long live the king, dude.
So is there anything else you want to talk about?
We can barrel on through. I'm trying to think if there's there's the Mothra sacrifice. I thought was heartfelt, but there's a point in this movie where it gets to the final big battle between everybody, where I put my notes down and just enjoyed the show and enjoyed the battles and everything.
Like Godzilla is like nuclear-y, like he is this nuclear bomb.
That part is
Ken
great.
Watanabe has to like revive Godzilla because the oxygen missile, like, we mentioned it maybe off mic before we got on, but let's talk about this oxygen nuke that comes out of nowhere. I'm like, what the? And
really quick, and they're like, "Oh, it's already on its way." I already fired it. He pulled the Ozymandias. He's like, "Oh no, we gotta get out." He's like, "Ah, too late. You think I'd wait?"
Yeah, like, who the fuck are you people? And you're like, right, who is this organization in comparison to the broader whole? You're like, I don't know why. Like, are they talking to the president? Like, there's
just sucks all that oxygen out, and then they just fucking kill Godzilla, and then they have to spend the next part. They put him out of commission. They have to spend the next part of the movie bringing him back, which I just think is funny. Is like part of the movie is just rectifying a mistake that just happened in the movie. Happens a lot. It almost feels too like when you take your, like in a sports movie, when you take your best player gets like injured or whatever, and you have to bring him on the bench, and then it's this whole like in Rocky where the guy at the corner is just like, come on, Rock, you gotta get back up, you gotta come on, get back up, Rock. Kenwanabe's that guy, but instead he kills himself. That's fucking great. I love that. Come on, Gojira. Don't give up now.
Come on, Gojira.
You gotta cut me.
I was like enthralled the whole time. It was so funny because like there's again like the stuff with Millie Bobby. I know we talked about how good of an actress she is, and like I love again Via for America. I love Charles Dance, but like all of that stuff is kind of a fucking drag. And then it's the stuff when it's like Ken Watanabe, when it was Sally Hawkins, like we're trying to figure out these monsters, we're trying to get them on our side, like all of that stuff really works for me. And it's when you get into the like, yeah, the emotional weight of this movie really is mid. Yeah, you know, because
some of the Kyle Chandler
was on like the end of my seat with the Ken Watanabe stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's like, okay, we got to revive Godzilla or Gojira is how he would say it, which I love the fact that this movie gives you both. Because I feel like there was like this online discourse about how like, well, the Japanese pronunciation of Godzilla is this, and you get Godzilla and Gojira in the same fucking movie. I think is just so fun that they were able to accomplish that in a way that totally made sense. Because like, yeah, Ken Watanabe would say that.
Yeah,
all of that stuff works.
The Kyle Chandler stuff was okay. It was okay at parts of him, you know, just being like seeing red and just like I have to get my daughter back, nothing else matters. But it does fall flat for me, and those characters do ring a little hollow when he's, I don't know, you gotta make do with what you can, and you gotta save the world and everything. But when the Vera kind of just like, I'm here to help now and we're gonna figure this out, I'm just kind of like, get lost. Or like Zhang says, that bitch. During the ending of the PowerPoint, which I mean, if there's just one part about that too, that is like one of the most like clunkiest like exposition like turns of a character into evil that I've ever seen, and I think that's part of the reason why it doesn't follow through as much. It is fun and campy to have a character proclaim like, we need a new world order of monsters. I'm like, cool, but it's just something like she's too good of an actress.
I know.
It's like I need someone else that's just like silly.
You're playing
just
this
like
with sincerity, and I want you to be way sillier.
I believe everything she's saying, but I want it to be more just like Wallace Shawn and Southland Tales or something. Liquid Karma.
Liquid Karma.
I want Kyle Chandler to be married to Wallace Shawn and for them to play his wife.
Inconceivable.
But I do agree Ken Watanabe and his follow through and his character I think was played well. Final battle fucking cool with the atom bomb and getting fire powers and like the last one he got powered up in a way too and shot fire down the one of the monsters' gullets and shooting it through the gullet out through the mouth the other way. I thought that was a cool effect too. It's just so badass. It looked like a noodle that King Ghidorah or whatever. But I'm just looking at any of my other notes here. It looked like a fucking noodle.
as such is life, where you just consume a noodle and it blows out the back of you.
Oh, that's not how you do it. You don't blow, you suck. Oh, my bad. I thought I'm doing it wrong. Let's see. Okay, so bear kisses.
We're both doing her.
Let's see. Oh, Watanabe always willing to get advice. Oh yeah, in the first movie and the second movie, both, and especially this one, there's a lot like Kyle Chandler walks in. He's like, no, that's not what we're supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to do, and you guys are all reading it wrong. And Ken Watanabe has that just look, and he's just like, tell us what to do. Like this. You're absolutely right. And what should we do next? And he just asks Kyle Chandler for advice, and he follows everything he does. And Bryan Cranston kind of is that in the first movie where he's like,
is that what you're getting?
No.
I'm just kidding.
No, is that what?
He's like, it just follows everything he does, no matter if he believes in it or not.
No, if anything, I was just like, no, I didn't mean, I was just more, I was kind of impressed. I was like, wow, this character is heeding other characters' advice that might know more about the topic. And he's very quickly able to recognize someone who might know better and bring them along, because he brought Bryan Cranston along and Aaron Taylor Johnson and was like asking them a lot of questions. And they've kind of been these like characters in the background that approach people and just like, like what's going on, like seeing these monsters and collecting data and all that stuff. And I kind of like that background scientist thing where they're just collecting all the data and taking it all in. But I think in this one more so, he was a little bitch in this one.
He was a bit.
Whatever you say, Kyle Chandler, whatever you say. They said they got a fuck in here. I thought that was cool for a PG-13 movie. Like, get a fuck in there. Why not?
Yeah.
O'Shea's, I think, says, you got to be fucking kidding me. Hell yeah. Classic Godzilla roar at a time. I like that. Like when he gets thrown into the crevasse. Godzilla and man character get knocked out at the same time, like last movie. That happened last. Godzilla gets knocked out, and Aaron Taylor Johnson gets knocked out, and they both like go to sleepy bye at the same time.
There was a moment in this movie that MBB screams back at Ghidorah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, I was like that. Yeah, to like just stare at a fucking green screen and just be like, ah! Reminded me of Brendan Fraser in The Mummy. I'm just like, well, I can do it too. What else we got here? PowerPoint, huh? Oh, she's almost kind of like Ozymandias too, just kind of like, I'm going to bring the world together by bringing in this outside force that will unite humanity.
Total Ozymandias.
Kyle Chandler asks what it's called, and he's like, oh, it's called Radon, and immediately calls it Big Bird. Yeah. He like asks, they tell him, and he's like, nah, I'm not calling it that. Yeah, it's fucking that sounds lame. What's this Big Bird about?
That's what nerds say.
Someone else calls it like a turkey. They're all just and that
I was the coach at Friday Night Lights.
Yeah. I don't take no guff. The guy from Billy Madison calls it fucking Mo. The Three Stooges, Mo, Curly, and and does a gonorrhea joke. I don't know. It's stuff was rough. Some of these are rough. There's like, I just wrote.
He says that bitch is right at a point, which really stood out to me. Where I'm like, good Lord, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
there's some of the Michael Bay stuff. I record everything, man. There's
somebody said you're a monster, which I was like, ooh, double meaning.
That was very on the nose, but it was good because Millie Bobby Brown's a good little actress. But she said that to her mom, like when all these monsters are being released and they're looking at all the destruction, she looks right in her soul and it's like, you're the monster, not all them. You're the monster.
And I'm talking about Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah. What are the other ones? Oh fuck! I wish I wrote all of them down because there's a couple more, right?
There's the mammoth guy and the one from the last. There's like another one from the last movie, another version, and then like there's like a spider guy.
And what was the hint to King Kong?
They mentioned Skull Island multiple times, and then there's there's some Skull Island discussion because that movie takes place in like the 70s, so they've kind of known about that and. He's just been bulking up, getting ready for this battle since the 70s.
just lifting weights.
Hell yeah, dude.
Just getting
big barrels, Donkey Kong style, trying to get that plumber, that pesky plumber.
They also mentioned too a huge concept in the Godzilla versus King Kong movie, which is the like there's a like not Middle Earth from Lord of the Rings,
like an under Earth.
Like there's like an it under Earth. Which is
there's middle, there's over, there's
insane. That is an insane concept to think about.
That's what he said. He's like, I told you, Jan. I told you there was an under Earth.
There's the craziest thing is when you see it in the movie for King Kong versus Godzilla, there's like a whole sky. Oh
yeah, that part's cool.
And you're like, so this entire thing exists inside the Earth is.
Yeah,
but it's cool because it's a place for these guys to just fight and duke it out.
Let's get round 1, and then in round 3 you get inside the Earth. Round 1 is in San Francisco. Round 3, under Earth. Fight
under
Earth. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else I got here? Let them fight is a thing. Oh yeah, because he says let them fight. And I don't need to talk about that. There's a lot of monsters that see tiny people. Yeah. Has he been working out? Just starts yelling her name. Oh yeah, he like gets off the plane and it's like there's a whole monster battle going on. He just starts screaming her name, just like she's not gonna hear you. There's like a whole monster. He's like, wow, she's like,
Billy,
Billy, fire,
Billy. I wrote that the oxygen destroyer has a 2-mile radius, and then I just thought to myself, that's not long enough. That's definitely not long enough.
It shows
the size of Godzilla would be at least a couple miles, like way beyond 2, right? Like if you were to think about like a monster that is as big as a skyscraper and its tail goes past it, like that's easily like 4 or 5 miles.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, 2-mile radius. I thought it seemed. I was like, doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially put 2 monsters in it. I was like, and that it just doesn't seem like enough. Like yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. For oxygen missiles, I'm not.
Hey,
I'm not
we're not kaiju experts on this pod. I know. I'm sorry. I'm throwing out some really specific kaiju questions, and you know what? That's not what this pod's about.
I would love to see the scale of multi 100-mile dinosaur. It's a 100-mile dinosaur.
God.
Because the miles, that's pretty big. There's a part at the end, or like all the news clippings. There's a lot of Easter eggs all coming up, like epilogue shit during the credits. One of the things is that Titan poop is a viable energy source.
Oh,
is one of the news articles I saw. I thought that was pretty fun. Makes sense with some radiation in the doo-doo. You maybe could burn it and light your radiator. Let's check out what those pesky critics got to say about things.
Before we do that, can we take a break?
Yes. Break time. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. Welcome back. We are going to start talking about some reactions from the critics here, and on the negative side of things, the 42% side of things. Let's start with Empire with a 20. Not sure who wrote it. It's from Empire. They say globe-trotting but not adventurous, action-packed but not remotely exciting. Utterly overstuffed and completely paper thin. Nuke it from orbit.
Wow.
Nuke it from
this is orbit. The stuff. Yeah.
Let's move on to The Observer, and another 20. The ugly visual effects are outdone only by the sound design, which is relentlessly loud and thunderingly tedious. The verbal exchanges between the humans are devoid of wit and barely functional in communicating the story. By Simran Hans. What else we got here? Let's try Screen Crush by Matt Singer, a 30. Godzilla King of the Monsters is as narratively incomprehensible as it is visually, with an even more talented roster of overqualified actors tasked with carrying the film's insipid story and trying to make their characters' bizarre decisions seem halfway plausible.
Yeah.
From LA Times, Katie Walsh with a 40. Amazingly, somehow, an overstuffed Godzilla movie feels scant. There's a lot of contradictory sort of language from these critics. So like it's big but small. It's it's wide but thin.
I can see why.
From Peter Travers, a 40 on the Rolling Stone. The chance to see giant monsters go apeshit, a few more are added near the end, is almost worth the price of admission. Seeing, however, is part of the problem. Godzilla King of the Monsters is often lost in the shadows of digital muck that it makes the squinting chaos of the Battle of Winterfell and Game of Thrones look like a light show.
Wow. Peter.
Zing. Topical for the time of 2019.
Wow, that's why he does what he does.
How about that Battle of Winterfell, am I right? You couldn't see anything.
Who came out that was like, you should get a better TV? It was one of those situations.
One of the Benioff or the Weisses?
Can't remember, but yeah. It was like, well, because your TV sucks. And you're like, are you fucking kidding? Like, what are you talking about? That's how you're gonna... Oh.
Maybe it's all of you people versus me.
We're perfect.
We'll do another one from The Guardian with a 40. Benjamin Lee says it's a film with too much, yet somehow so very little. So I don't know. Everyone's still kind of polarized against themselves about like this movie's a walking contradiction. Just like me, Brandon.
Oh, stop. You dirty dog.
Let's do some audience reviews. A 5-star from Amazon from Sam's Review. Let's check it out. Bear with me. It's a little much, but it's fun. My complaints and concerns are mainly directed at producers. Stop hiding the monster fights in smoke, darkness, clouds, foggy haze, or behind the military ospreys. This was the primary complaint in the last Godzilla movie. You'd think the producers would have learned that lesson by now. This is why this movie did not make a lot of money at the American box offices, because fans are a little raw about that. Try that again in King Kong and see what happens to your bottom line. I see they fixed Godzilla's feet once again. At least they got that part right. Mothra died a little too soon, guys. Really? I'm old school. Grew up with Godzilla all throughout the 80s. So why in the hell is there a giant woolly mammoth in this movie? Because there are no woolly mammoth in the Godzilla family of monsters when I was growing up. Stop screwing up these movies, guys. If the producers were smart, they would have included 3 of the giant praying mantis from Son of Godzilla. Remember those guys? Now that would have been epic. Instead of a freaking woolly mammoth that had nothing to do with anything. There was too much unnecessary human dialogue. Focus on the monsters. I got really tired of the little know-it-all teenage girl drama. This is not Days of Our Lives. Miss me with that next time, guys, and stay focused on the monsters' backstories. To all writers and producers, don't even screw up Godzilla vs. King Kong. Take notes from all the critical reviews and make the necessary corrections. Otherwise, you guys killed it. Congratulations on an amazing movie. But fix all the problems. Listen to the fans. The facts.
Wow.
Then there's a list of facts. 1, running time, approximately 2 hours, 15 minutes. 2, sound, DTS 5.1 and Atmos. 3, picture, widescreen. 4, filled with action, suspense, and drama. Almost epic.
Oh,
Number 5.
Wanted it to be epic.
Yeah.
But damn, okay.
Number 5, explains backstory very well.
Ooh, good.
Number 6, producers tried to hide monster fights again. 7, not enough focus on monsters.
Damn it.
8,
I know.
Too much unnecessary human dialogue. 9. Movie was intense.
Did you want the backstory or did you not want it? I don't know.
Just the monsters. Who gives a fuck about people? Number 9, movie was intense and good, but dropped the ball in some areas. Number 10, recommended purchase on Blu-ray, must-have classic. Thank you. Hope this helps.
I mean,
5 stars.
5 stars. Wow, cool.
I'm gonna do like 1 or 2 more. I know that one was a lot, but there's some Godzilla nerds are fun.
Yeah.
They're a good time. From Audrey, 5 stars, titled Great Monster Action and Special Effects. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Good fun and well done special effects. I don't watch Godzilla movies for the acting or the great writing. I watch Godzilla movies because I like Godzilla and all the campiness of the franchise. This movie delivers Godzilla and the other monsters beautifully, and I thought really well. I especially enjoy the majestic and earth goddess-like portrayal of Mothra. Didn't see that coming, and it was a nice surprise. Rodan made an appearance too, and I enjoyed those scenes as well. All in all, this reminded me of the style of Starship Troopers, which I also really enjoyed because of the corn and great bug monsters. Good fun, not serious. Godzilla at his/her best, taking out the alien trash. It is definitely worth the rental and perhaps even the few extra bucks. Got my mind on butts, Brandon. Sorry. Few extra bucks to put a permanent DVD copy in the video library. For all you people having a stroke about the anti-Christian theme, seriously? The understory is about taking care of the earth and has nothing to do with organized religion. Maybe you can buy a clue at Amazon.com.
And with Amazon Prime, get a clue.
That was like an atom bomb from Godzilla in the movie, just like, oh man, he's gonna blow, and then just put a zinger. All right, I'm gonna do one more because this one's kind of a trip.
That was good.
And there's probably more out there. Anytime you're bored, it's not bad to check in on some reviews of things because people sometimes will just really let it out. This person, Fenx 1200, 5 stars. Godzilla wipes out Monster Zero and the liberals.
Oh, okay.
If you are a true Godzilla fan, and I have been a fan since the 1970s, you will enjoy this movie with such stars in the Godzilla universe as Mothra, Monster Zero, Rodan, Titanus, Behemoth, Muto 3, and others as they battle Monster Zero, King Ghidorah, with alien origins for supremacy of the planet. The plot is apropos for today's political climate. The world is being destroyed by nasty conservative humans, and a liberal scientist hatches a plot to destroy most of the world's population by unleashing the Godzilla universe monsters, which are placed in secure bunkers around the world, hidden from the population by a secret organization called Monarchs, so the liberals can reappear from under their hiding places and repopulate the world. I thought Ted Kaczynski was going to make an appearance. Of course, this line of thinking is insane, just like the liberal mind. And it takes a group of hardworking scientists, military experts, and good old-fashioned ingenuity to quell the disaster that has already killed millions of people and destroyed trillions in infrastructure, and pits Godzilla against Ghidorah for supremacy of the planet. I won't spoil the ending, but the best line of the movie is when Dr. Chen calls Dr. Russell that bitch, as Dr. Russell was detailing why she wanted the world destroyed by calling humans nasty parasites, with the monster universe representing the only means to remove humans, the Earth's immune system rejecting humans. She gets it in the end. After the near disaster of wiping out the entire planet, of course, just like modern movies, there are tons of CGI, military hardware, and entire cities being destroyed by these monsters. It won't disappoint those who love CGI. The tone is one of immediacy, and let's try one last thing to kill these monsters. And we finally see humans get it together and help Godzilla kill King Ghidorah. Now the world must clean up after the meltdown of one liberal scientist.
Wow.
We watched this movie wrong, Brandon.
I had no idea.
I get it now.
The cultural ramifications of this film.
I get it.
It was just laid out that there is, this movie is not just a movie. It is a cultural battleground that is not just filled with kaijus, but it's filled with liberals. Shit agenda.
And they're ruining for all the rest of us.
I had zero idea. I was watching True Patriot Godzilla.
Thank God for the military and the ingenuity of
love and American values.
Yes, exactly. God.
Wow. I don't know, man.
Makes me proud.
I mean, long live the king, am I right?
Long live the king! What is there to say? I'm ready to give our final thoughts and move on. What are you thinking? You want to go?
No, you go first.
Entree? Moi? I will say that this movie, like I mentioned at the beginning, a successful franchise that has kind of like unassumedly for me done really well at being consistent and having complete stories told within each of the feature films that borrow and take from the others, kind of in a way like Marvel does, as far as like, oh, this superhero showed up. Oh, King Kong is going to show up in this one, and they've been working towards it. Maybe like a Captain America versus Iron Man or something, Civil War or whatever. I don't know why I'm making this comparison. It's just interesting to see a franchise and a universe start at the time that it did and take notes clearly, I feel like from that and do it in a way that is taking a lot of big things and stuff that has been around a while. Like Godzilla's been around for so long, and there's so many fans that want it to be done a certain way. And I'm impressed with the franchise to do a job well enough where the first one is different enough from this one, but they're all good for different reasons. And Godzilla vs. Kong is just like, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be cool. They're fucking battling each other. Like, and I think this one does course correct from the first one in my mind, and it does try to instill humor and more action, and you get to see the monsters more, and there are more monsters. And it doesn't mean I like the first one less. I like both of them for different reasons, but I'm really happy that this one exists, and it was fun watching it for a second time and just kind of being blown away that there are so many battles, and they mix up not just Godzilla versus Sun, but you get the Rodan versus King Ghidorah and all that stuff, and they're done in interesting locales. But you kind of have to be okay with it, being a big spectacle. The characters themselves are clunkily written concerning like the villain and the whole plan and why certain things need to happen, as far as like her decision making and her follow through at the end of her character for Vera Farmiga. But luckily that really is just holding up the ability to have these battles and kind of have the humans be there to see it. And
look at it.
Yeah, it's badass. It's a badass movie. The effects are all there on the screen. The money's there all there on the screen. I can understand why it's not for everybody. I can understand why this is polarizing, and it is less of a movie like other ones we've done where it's like, what is their problem? Like, why don't they get it? It's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not everyone's thing. Like a big monster movie where they're kind of saying some stupid stuff and there's big loud action scenes and it's almost 2.5 hours long. It's a big thing to take in, and it's maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but if you're looking for spectacle and a globe-trotting monster movie, I think it fills the bill for a lot of reasons that you would want in a fucking Godzilla King of the Monsters movie. I was having a hard time deciding which one I liked better, like between the first and the second, just watching them recently.
Really such a glowing review. I'm so curious about your
Me too. I've been having a hard time.
God, I love that. Yeah. Okay.
It's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to be above and beyond because the characters, and it is a little big, and I like the characterization in the first one a lot better for different reasons. Yeah, the alien thing almost is a good comparison of like they are good for different reasons. For me, I'm thinking a strong 70, like a high 70 sounds good for me. Do like a 77.
Fuck yeah.
77 feels good. It's like
absolutely.
I would watch it again even too. It's fun and I would recommend it overall.
I agree. So this movie falls in wonderful company in my mind of a couple films like The Two Towers.
Wow.
Evil Dead 2.
Wow.
Spider-Man 2.
Wow.
Just in the pantheon of Rush Hour 2.
Wow.
Pantheon of the second movie being the one that really just knocks it out of the park. It gets its job done. It just comes to play. It's like, okay, so we got some of the housekeeping out of the way. Now we can just get to what.
Yeah.
And so just like what we talked about with Rush Hour 2 is like Rush Hour 1's amazing, but it is so fun to be at a point in their relationship in Rush Hour 2 where we know that the introductions are done. Let's just get to what everybody is here for. And this movie does that. Yeah. The story of Charles Dance, Via for America, kind of is poopy. And I understand why the critics, by and large, don't like this movie because the emotional core or the humanity that ties you as a human to the movie, big time mid.
Middle ditch.
But yeah, there you go. Thank you. That's what it was. Middle ditch. Get it. But ultimately, this is a bunch of really fucking cool monsters battling each other. And that is super cool. It's super dope.
Super cool.
And yeah, and like, you know what? Pretty much fucking rips. That's what I kind of want to say.
Hell yeah.
And so
fuck yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this movie. So originally, when I was going into this, I was gonna give it a 75, but I would much rather, because of the way that you described this movie too, is that I think we both feel the same way about it.
Yeah,
and I think that we should have the same score.
4 7s. Add 2 more to them. Hell yeah! We were like at the lottery, or like the slots. Bingo. The slots would be set. Add another 7 to the 3. I love it. This is it's hard to be mad at this movie. It's so fun, and it doesn't. It just goes, man. It just it's thoroughly entertaining for a 2.5 hour thing. Like, and it's the way I think that first 20 minutes is such a great job too of laying whatever groundwork that you not sure if you remember in the first one or whatever. Yeah, they're all fucking. Let's go.
Monsters are waking up. Let's yeah, buddy.
The 17, that was such an interesting number to me. I want to see if there's a list of all the 17 Titans, or if that is like meaningful in like the past Godzilla movies. Like he actually has like 17 different monsters.
I mean, or something. You know what though? So I was thinking about this on our break. Is like all of those monsters, however many they may be, if they relatively stick into the pocket of this and Godzilla versus King Kong, make 17 movies. Like let's do
I was gonna say, they are making,
maybe not 17 like you like bundle them a little bit, but you know what I mean.
They are making a television series. I would think I almost forgot to mention. It is called Monarch: Legacy of Monsters, an upcoming American television series created by Chris Black and developed by for Apple TV Plus. What is the premise though? I'm curious because I think the trailer just recently dropped. After the battle, set after the battle between Godzilla and the Titans, revealing that monsters are real, follows one family's journey to uncover its buried secrets and legacy, linking them to Monarch. So it is after Kong and King of Monsters. It's got both of the Russells, Wyatt and Kurt. Isn't that cool?
Whoa, Kurt
and Wyatt. together.
Wow.
It's fucking cool. It's okay.
I mean, the premise of the show sounds poopy. I do not care for that premise, but
comes out in November. We shall see. It's, I mean, they're pushing the world. They're taking it to TV land. So not
I mean, to the point that you're making is that I think this establishes a formula that is like, it's a formula that I'm on board with. Mm-hmm. And that's why I would give it a positive, the positive score that I did give it is because what the structure of this movie, yes, certain things could change about it or get better, but the structure of it is good and solid. And yeah,
I'm probably going to check out the show too. Yeah. I've enjoyed it enough that like, I'll give it a shot, see what's up. Until next time, we will be doing another film that will not be a sequel. We've wrapped that up. Thrown away the
close the book. We closed the summer book. I know, which is
summer
tough.
Sequel book.
I don't want summer to end, but it has to. And you know what? I think this is going to be this is going to be cathartic. It's going to be a transition.
Maybe we can do like summer threequels next summer or something like that. Could be fun.
Yeah. Look forward to the next summer.
Oh, you always do. Summer Brandini.
I'm a Summer Brandini.
The next movie feels kind of autumn fall a little bit. We will be doing Where the Crawdads Sing from 2022. It is very polarizing, extremely polarizing. Fits perfectly for our podcast. It's great. It's unfortunate when people disagree, but it works for us. We just feast off the vitriol. Critics gave it 35%. Audience gave it a 96. Spicy 90s. We hope to see you, hear you. We hope you hear us next time. I could read the premise. No, you guys have probably heard of it. Yeah. Where the crawdads sing. If not, check it out. We're going to be talking about it. We love you all. If you want to catch us live, we're on twitch.tv/PolarizedPod. You can send us an email at polarizedpod@gmail.com. Have I missed anything else, Brandina? I have to tell you, it's been a true pleasure sharing this monster battle discussion with you, and I'm glad there was a moment where we just evolved into shield activated. Bomb detonates.
He's gaining too much energy. He's gonna explode. I want him to explode.
Yeah.
Godzilla explode.
Explode, Godzilla.
But it's like a nuclear bomb going off. Do it anyways.
They evacuated the city. It's okay.
It's okay. Even though the city will never be able to be inhabitable for decades.
No, the trees will grow back. It'll be great.
Mothra rules.
Mothra rules.
Hell yeah, dude. I've had a good time on this app as well because this movie is fun. This podcast is fun. I had a good time.
Yeah, every time. Every time. And we'll see you next time. We love you.
We love you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
We love you.
I think I love you. Says that Godzilla is 550 feet and 4 inches. How many feet are a mile?
Isn't it like 5,280 or something?
Oh, it's 5,000 feet.
Yeah, 5,280. I was like, that's like big, like a multi-mile.
Okay. God, I don't know, just